Once upon a time, in a quiet village surrounded by rolling hills and dense woods, there lived a girl named Annelise. Annelise was known far and wide for one remarkable trait, her shadow. It was not like any other shadow, for it seemed to have a life of its own. When she moved, it danced gracefully. When she stood still, it shimmered like water under the moonlight. It followed her every step, but seemed to move with more elegance and charm than even her own body could manage. The villagers marveled at Annelise's shadow, calling it a gift from the heavens. People traveled from nearby towns to see it, whispering that it was enchanted, a blessing that set her apart. At first, Annelise reveled in the attention. Her shadow made her special, and she basked in the admiration of the villagers. But as time passed, she began to feel the weight of their expectations. She was no longer just Annelise. She was the girl with the shadow, and she began to wonder if they saw her at all beyond that shimmering silhouette. A growing discontent. The more the villagers celebrated her shadow, the more Annelise felt its presence in her life. People rarely asked about her thoughts, her dreams, or her feelings. They only wanted to see the shadow dance, its movements fluid and captivating in ways that she herself could never match. Even in moments of solitude, she felt the shadow lingering. One evening, as she stood by the well drawing water, her reflection caught her off guard. The shadow in the water seemed almost smug, its movements exaggerated, as if it were mocking her. "Why do they love you more than me?" she whispered to the shadow, her voice trembling. The shadow didn't answer, of course. It only danced. The shadow separates one night, when the village was blanketed in darkness and the stars shone faintly overhead, Annelise awoke to an eerie stillness. The usual hum of the night, the rustling trees, the chirping crickets, was gone. She sat up in bed, her heart pounding, and noticed something strange. Her shadow, which should have been lying flat against the wall, was gone. Panic surged through her as she scrambled out of bed, searching the dim room. "Where are you?" she whispered, as if expecting a reply. Then, through the moonlight streaming in through the window, she saw it. Her shadow was standing in the corner of the room, no longer attached to her feet. It turned toward her, its form shimmering faintly, and then it walked toward the door. "Wait," Annelise called, but the shadow didn't stop. It slipped through the door and into the night. Annelise grabbed her cloak and lantern and ran after it, her bare feet slapping against the cool earth. The shadow moved swiftly, weaving through the village and disappearing into the Black Forest. The Black Forest beckons. The Black Forest was said to be cursed, a place where travelers entered and never returned. The trees were ancient, their gnarled branches twisting together to block out the light. Strange sounds echoed through the woods, and the air felt thick with unseen eyes watching from the shadows. Annelise hesitated at the edge of the forest, fear coursing through her. But she couldn't let her shadow go. It was part of her. No matter how much it frustrated her, it belonged to her. Summoning her courage, she stepped into the darkness. The forest seemed alive, its branches shifting and creaking like old bones. The path ahead was faint, illuminated only by the soft glow of her lantern. As she walked, she called out to her shadow, her voice trembling. "Come back. Please, I need you." But the shadow didn't respond. Instead, it led her deeper into the forest, to a clearing bathed in pale moonlight. In the center of the clearing stood a pool of water, so still and dark it looked like liquid night. Her shadow stood at the edge of the pool, its form more defined than ever before. A shadow's true form. As Annelise approached, the shadow turned to face her. For the first time, she saw its eyes, glowing faintly like embers. Its form, though still dark and fluid, had taken on an almost human shape, mirroring her own features but exaggerated, sharper, more commanding. "You followed me," the shadow said, its voice soft and echoing, as if carried by the wind. Why? You're part of me, Annelise said, her voice shaking. You can't just leave. The shadow laughed, a low, bitter sound. Part of you? I've been more than just a part of you. I've been your better half. While you stumbled, I danced. While you hesitated, I dazzled. They loved me, Annelise, not you. Tears welled in Annelise's eyes. That's not true. You're nothing without me. I gave you form. And you gave me chains, the shadow replied, stepping closer. I was bound to you, forced to mimic your every move. But now I'm free, and I have no intention of going back. The struggle, the shadow raised a hand, and the pool behind it rippled. From its surface emerged other shadows, each one flickering and indistinct. They circled Annelise, their forms twisting and shifting like smoke. You can't survive without me, Annelise said, trying to sound braver than she felt. Without me, you're just nothing. Am I? The shadow said, its voice mocking. Let's see. The shadows lunged, their cold, weightless forms wrapping around her. Annelise struggled, her lantern casting wild beams of light as she fought to break free. You can't take me, she shouted. You need me. The shadow hesitated, its glowing eyes narrowing. Perhaps, it said, but so do you. With a sudden burst of strength, Annelise threw the lantern into the pool.